Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of Cincinnati Soccer Talk. This is CST episode 392. And yes, this is the grand old voice of Brian Weigel back in the host chair as Boston Razzle Dazzle Brazzle is in the Orient still this week. I think he keeps sending me weird messages at 2 a.m. my time, and I don't know, man. I think he said he's going to go check out some Japanese football this week, so good on him, and can't wait to have him back just in time for our Monday night playoff game. Monday Night Football in Cincinnati, or whatever they decide to call it from now on. But hey, we're here to talk about a great weekend as FC Cincinnati, we're going to say, eliminated the Philadelphia Union from playoff contention. Our secondary, or was it tertiary third rival? Yeah, see,
Yep.
I got a vocabulary here, gentlemen. It's okay. Oh, shoot. Well, very happy to have you all here on episode 392 of Cincinnati Soccer Talk, the big show on Monday nights. We will be changing up our regularly scheduled programming on Monday nights due to FC Cincinnati's first home Audi MLS Cup Playoff match versus NYCFC next week. But you'll be looking over at Brian Biedenbach, I think, hosting a post-match show Monday night next week. So make sure to tune in on your favorite social media network for there. But guys, let's bring in our favorite cast of characters this week. You heard him briefly there earlier. Justin Blair, how you doing, bud?
Doing great. How about you?
I could be better. My boys' soccer team did very well, undefeated on the weekend, but of course, got those dang tiebreakers, didn't advance to the finals of what was one of the cooler soccer tournaments in the Haunted Classic this week up in Beaver Creek. Note to self, if you ever go to the Haunted Classic, make sure you prepare for the traffic. It is something to behold.
Meanwhile, we're playing hooky from basketball tonight. I got a 4-year-old that's like, I'd rather just sit at home and watch TV. I'm like, you're not watching TV, but we can go home. So it's a thing. I think if anybody has small kids, it's like sometimes they're in it, sometimes they're not. You've already paid, $200 odd for them to participate in a thing for a month, and now you gotta pick your battles.
Well, you're speaking to a redhead, and redheads and basketball don't mix. So, Brian Scalabrini, let's go. Speaking of another Brian Biedenbach, how you doing, sir? Looks like you're traveling right now.
I am traveling. I'm hanging out at a Spring Hill Suites in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, down here for a conference. Had to travel last minute, but couldn't miss the show. So brought some stuff with me and wanted to jump on and chat about our win against Philly this last weekend.
Chatting about Philly, chatting up Dolly Parton, having a good time in Pigeon Forge.
Right.
All right. And last but not least, our newest cast of characters is Bill Taylor. How you doing, Bill?
Good evening, gentlemen. How are you guys tonight?
Good. What do you got hanging up behind you there? Is that like a 2-pole? What is that? Looks nice.
So it's it's a couple of scarves. It's the season ticket holder blanket. We got all kinds of good stuff back here today, along with the hat. I was gonna go with the bucket hat, but I just couldn't do it.
Good choice.
Good choice. Yeah, right.
Bucket hat, huh?
Oh yeah, they're all the rage. My son will be in his bucket hat on Monday night.
I will say I wear bucket hats when I coach on sunny days. I got a dome I've got to keep covered.
Yeah, you were down there in CST with the bucket hat, weren't you?
That's right.
I have not advanced to that stage, but I did get a customized LSO United hat from Soccer Village this week, which is pretty nifty.
There you go.
I'm such a loser. I love it, but got to represent. All right, guys. It was a great weekend, I will say. Kind of put a little bow on the end of the 2024 regular season with that 2-1 victory in the City of Brotherly Love, or whatever they call Chester, PA. But it's a 2-1 victory for FC Cincinnati over the Philadelphia Union. Let's get into our best and worst before we go deep dive into the match. I'm going to start with Bill Taylor. Bill, what was your best and the worst for the week?
Well, I'll tell you what, the play, the passing game seemed a lot more cohesive. It seemed a lot more solid. Obviously, you can lend yourself to the time of possession, winning that battle. I think that was absolutely fantastic. It just seemed sharp. It seemed on point. We didn't seem to lose a step when we brought the subs in the second half. And when it comes down to it, a win's a win. Doesn't matter how it happens. I did predict the score last Monday night. of 2-1, just a matter of how we got there. And I just wanted to ask real quick, did you guys zone back to Matt Miazga's own goal from earlier in the season? When you saw, I mean, it looked almost like identical the way it happened. But of course, that comes with pressure. It comes with lack of communication between defender goalkeeper, and the goalkeeper was leaning the wrong way, right? So he got caught leaning to his right. I was a little surprised he didn't take a shot at least a dive to save that shot. Coach, what do you think, man? I was waiting for your input on that, actually.
Yeah, I was surprised he didn't make the effort, but I mean, he was far enough out. He's a tall, lanky keeper. He may have had a chance, but you're right. He was leaning the wrong way. So I don't know, man. I'm just glad it went in. And I wish it was us. I wish it was us that had eliminated Philly, but I'm okay that it was Glesnes that eliminated Philly.
Sometimes shooting yourself in the foot, right? And
That's right.
My worst has got to be that, we made some really poor choices. I love Lucho and the fact of what he can do with the ball, but he's a 50-50 when it comes to the decision he makes. Maybe once or twice didn't seem to be quite on the same page as the rest of the squad. And then, of course, our finishes, right? I mean, sometimes it seems like we shot it at the goalkeeper. Anywhere else, it would have gone in the back of the net. We seem to have found right where the goalkeeper was standing. And then, of course, conceding that early goal yet again and having to play from behind. I mean, that's got to stop like yesterday.
Yeah.
You were talking about that shooting right at the goalie. At least, kind of DeAndre Edlin still kind of going into some of my best of the week, but at least he was getting in the attack. I'm glad to see something off that right wing, and more of that if we can swing it. Justin Blair, your best and worst.
Yeah, my best is a pretty simple one. I think the best is just finishing the season on the right note. I think we talked about it a lot last week, having a 12 game stretch there at the end where we're just fumbling through the remainder of the season, and to kind of see some life be breathed into this club. I know that they did the photo shoot thing earlier in the week, and so it's just good to see smiles and get back to that, that mentality of, we're out here, to do a job, but we're also out here competing together. So it's really enjoyable to see the club going into the playoffs with that right mindset. And then for the worst, it just feels like we're in between lineups. And what I mean by that is the formation could probably use some changing, but we're just too late in the game. The pieces that we would have to move around are, it's just, you got some new guys that are being able to flip a switch like that.
Elaborate on that more. What would you change?
Yeah, so I think it's pretty painfully obvious that we're lacking a midfielder. I think, the way that Philadelphia was able to attack us on the counter, and we're just watching Obi and Pavel Vuka basically just sell out trying to get the ball, but we have to have those guys progressive to be able to crack the back lines. I think if we had another midfielder in that situation rather than, Miles Robinson, maybe a good thing, maybe a bad thing, but Miles Robinson largely was quiet the whole match.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of felt like we could have used a 2 center back set in that particular situation. But FC Cincinnati the opponents this year have thrown 2 different systems against us, or tactics or mindsets, philosophies. The low block is something that teams that don't feel like they can overcome FC Cincinnati have been able to do. And I think in that scenario, I think we should commit another body to the midfield. I think Dado Valenzuela would be one of those guys that could get up there, play alongside Lucho, kind of add another body, so you're not having Pavel playing so high up.
That's an interesting point. I'm not sure I agree with it. Your personnel with 3 high-paid, high-profile center backs. I'm not sure whatever you remove off the field is better, but I guess I do see your point there with that. I don't know, which of the center backs? You say you take off Miles?
Well, in the match that we were watching, it was basically like we're playing almost entirely in the attacking third, or we're playing at the midfield level. So at that point, you really just need some guys with legs, right? You're not defending the box all night. You're not doing stuff like that. So in that particular scenario, I probably would have given Teenage a little bit more minutes alongside of Cheeto coming back. And then had Miles come in late in the match whenever you're getting the volley from Philadelphia late.
I don't know. I think changing that formation with all the conversation we've had about Celentano, and for better or worse, the games that he's seems to let an easy ball in, and the games like this one where he makes a big save, and to change the formation in front of him this late in the season, I just wonder. He's a professional. He can handle it, I think. But I think that's a lot more to deal with that he hasn't seen all season. And right now to change it could, we saw him when Miazga went out, have difficulty getting people in the right position. And so now you take one of those center backs out and it leaves a gap that's not normally there. I think it's a little late maybe to change something like that. I don't think we're going to see that. I think obviously it's all hypothetical, and this is your worst of the week, I get. But yeah, I think that's a major consideration this late in the season.
Well, maybe something we can change. You never know. Get a little proactive. Whoever it is. Oh shoot. All right. I guess losing it here. Brian, what was your best and worst?
Yeah, I'm going to say my best is the fact that we were creating chances. And I don't know, I think somebody pointed out the numbers didn't show that we had more shots on frame, whatever, and we didn't, I don't think, but we had chances that were there that guys didn't finish, didn't take advantage. Lucho took an extra dribble instead of passing a ball through. So we had opportunities. I think the goals will come, especially, I've been saying it all season, the first time against Miami when we saw Luka and Kubo and Lucho in that formation up top. It's a dangerous three. And we saw some of that chemistry building to this last match, but the finishes, the goals weren't there. And I think they will come with that if we can keep that up top. At least going into the playoffs this early round. I think those will come. I was excited to see the chances created. I didn't like to see Lucho take that extra dribble every now and then, but I think that will come. My worst, I'm going to counter what Bill said. I don't know what the number said possession-wise. I don't know what our passing numbers and completion percentage, but the eye test to me, we had too many giveaways in the middle. And there's 6 or 7 times I can count that one of our wingers, our outside backs, had passed the ball into the middle, and the midfielder was 2 steps behind the pass and just watched it go across, thinking they were passing to another midfielder coming up out of the middle. And there were too many of those times that Philly just stepped up and went, "Thank you very much," and they countered us. And so, yeah, I think the communication in that midfield, whether it was lacking another midfielder, like Justin was saying, or just miscommunication or just mishandled balls, I think we had too many giveaways in the midfield that Philly had opportunities to take advantage of. And thank goodness they didn't take advantage of more than they did.
Just seeing touches, we're substantially more touches in the middle third than a traditional match for FC Cincinnati. Overall, our long passing was markedly worse actually on the night, but overall our passing was a couple percentage points higher than the season average. So I'm not sure what you can really make out of it.
Yeah.
Long passing probably is affected by not having a guy like Kevin Kelsey.
Sure, that's a great point.
And Gioacchini. I mean, I know he's fresh to the team, but he's got a frame that can go up and get the ball.
Yeah, I think that's a good point about Kelsey for sure, not having that hold up play for FC Cincinnati.
Well, we also had the guys that play, the trio that plays, drop in. All 3 of them drop in. So there's not that pass to make most of the time.
You're right.
Yeah, that fluidity up top, the different guys checking back, it definitely gives you that look, but also, you can kind of unbalance the defense that way, not knowing who to chase, where to run. I think my best of the week kind of goes to that point is I'm finally glad that that Pat Noonan has the cojones with that lineup to put Luka up top with Kubo. I know I've been worried about can Yamil Assad go the full 90, but I mean, I think that's screw Gioacchini for now. I mean, he's a rental. Put Luka up there, figure out a way to work it. He's your most deadly attacker. No offense. Yep. He's your most deadly attacker next to Lucho Acosta, and he needs to be on the ball in the dangerous positions. And hopefully we have a couple. Maybe this is that lever that Coach pulled that can put us over the top going into the MLS Cup playoffs and maybe getting us some hardware. My worst of the week is kind of to the other forward's point. There was a situation in the 89th minute, I think, where Nico Gioacchini won the ball, breakaway. He couldn't get ahead of the defender to get himself in a dangerous position. Then it looked like a freaking U10 soccer game with the forward, your own forward stealing the ball off your other forward, with Sergio Santos taking the ball off Gioacchini's foot. And then, of course, he missed. Shocker. I love him. I put him in the highlight reel if you saw the YouTube show. Sergio Santos has earned his spot in the intro video this year, right? And Yamil saw it too.
Yep.
But by God, he gotta freaking finish the game. Does this guy know how to finish a game? It just drives me crazy. No. It just drives me nuts. Like he's consistently inconsistent is what I'm going to put with Sergio Santos. Like I love him and I hate him at the same time. Put the hair dye back. I think that's what does it for you, bud.
I think the green. He needs to go back.
I don't care what he does. Green, blue, pink, yellow, orange. Orange is a great color.
Right? To be fair, Blake got a foot on that. He shouldn't have put it right at him. Yeah. But I thought, and my initial take was he straight up missed it. He had a wide open goal and he straight up missed it. But I think it was on target. I think Blake got a foot on. Flake definitely got a foot on it. But it was slow motion watching Gioacchini.
Yeah,
chase that ball down, and the defender just slowly gain on him and finally throw him down. Which is there an argument for a penalty? Potentially, I don't know, but it still should have been finished either way by one of the two. It should have gone in the back of the net.
I think. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say that definitely had shades of Lucadia on it. I was like,
oh my
can
God.
He get there?
I was just going to say, I think Como has to be like how we were with Bupenza. Like, how can we get rid of this guy and get any money back? Let's get him out to MLS and see what happens. Oh, man. How is he a designated player? Oh, we love our guys here at Cincinnati Soccer Talk. We don't hate. Know who else we love? Apollo Home. Guys, if you have an HVAC, plumbing, or electrical need, reach out to Apollo Home. They've been serving the greater Cincinnati and southern Dayton areas for over 110 years and would love to help you if you ever need anything. Fall's here. Weather's changing. Get your HVAC tune-up, your furnace tune-up. Change that humidifier to winter mode. Call ApolloHome.com or call Apollo or go to ApolloHome.com. All right, guys. That was an interesting best and worst of the week. A lot of color. I like the talk and the prep out of you guys this week. So let's go back to that starting lineup, gentlemen. Of course, we had Luka up top, Yamil Assad left back, Cheeto and Teenage return to start. Justin, when you kind of saw that first lineup coming out an hour before the match, we heard that there's going to be maybe some big changes. Who's going to start? What was your look when you saw Cheeto returning, thankfully, and then Luka or Shano up top?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was glaringly obvious like it was in Inter Miami, but having Kubo in playing, particularly just in the forward position, having Kubo and Orishano up top, when you have a struggling Galesnes and you're having a struggling Jack Elliott, it kind of reminded me of the Inter Miami game when you had Sergio Busquets and his name escapes me right now, but you have guys that have struggled in transition, and to have two guys like Orishano who can break pretty much every line that he wants to, right? And then having two guys like Yamil Assad and DeAndre Yedlin who are unapologetically aggressive when it comes to the attacking side. So for me, it felt good. It was like, this is a good rhythm and everything. But Philadelphia, I think, were a step ahead. and decided to bunker play it a little bit. And I was really excited on the back line to see Cheeto and Teenage, because I think we have a sense that those guys are probably a little bit more of the future for this club. I think that Miles is a stable anchor right now. I think we all can pretty surmise that, Miles Robinson will return, or Matt Miazga will supplant Miles Robinson in that position wherever Miles decides to go next year. But Teenage, I'm definitely excited to see him. I think Ian Murphy has played well, serviceable, but to be able to see him get out there with the guys and have Cheeto back, I think that was kind of what I was looking at, is saying, hey, this is probably our best set on the field, right? I think for so long, FC Cincinnati with Obina and Lucho, you kind of say, okay, well, we got the midfield, but outside of that, where are we confident? And I felt really good about our back line, to be honest with you, going against some really good players in Ua and Gastak.
And I've got to agree with that. I thought Robinson looked fairly comfortable back there working with Celentano, and it was really good to see Teenage and Waziem back in the lineup. Waziem's height is certainly an advantage back there that we've been lacking. That Miazga was our tall presence, and then watching Waziem move forward kind of and use some of that height. But I just got one quick question, guys, kind of a little bit off topic. Have you ever seen a match with fewer corner kicks than that game against Philly?
No.
Three for them, one for us, right?
Yeah.
4 in the entire match.
And the majority of theirs came late in the match too. That was the wild
absolutely.
thing.
Yeah, I don't know if they had one in the first half.
Yeah. Listen, as far as the starting lineup goes, I think I shared on Slack that I think this was our best starting lineup since Miazga left. And I was excited to see that back line, especially. That was the first thing that stuck out to me, is this back line. And I think I even said, if Teenage can hold his own, I haven't seen enough from him yet. He hasn't had a whole lot of minutes. And the first few minutes that he got in, making his debut, and almost kicked a guy in the face, and let a ball get by him. Like, I wasn't really impressed, and so I write that off. And I haven't seen many minutes from him, but I was excited to see, like, if he can hold his own, this is the best lineup we've had since Matt Miazga's injury. And 10 minutes into the game, Hadebe gets caught out of position. He chases the ball. His man runs in behind, and a goal is scored. And I went, oh no. My words of, if Hadebe can hold his own. But to be fair, he held up the rest of the match. Mm-hmm. I thought one of you said earlier, not Miazga, Robinson was pretty quiet. I think somebody was even wondering, I had somebody ask, like, is Robinson even on the pitch? Because he wasn't involved a whole lot, and I think he didn't need to be. I think Waziem was going forward a lot. But that back line, I went and I checked today. I wasn't sure of Hadebe's stature, like how tall he is. I was surprised to see he's only 5'11".
Yeah,
he looked much bigger than that out on the pitch the other night. And so the 3 big center backs that we have right now, I'm excited about going into the playoffs. So and it also frees up Luka to play a little bit more up top if we can slot Assad out in the middle. If we've got those 3 backs, pretty solid.
Mm-hmm. And Babito is for Philadelphia is a great forward, and for Teenage to go toe to toe with him, albeit the opening goal was what it was, but to go toe to toe with him on a lot of challenges, it was like, I was kind of blown away with that, because I think we've been lacking a little bit of that bite and aggressiveness. Mm-hmm. We try to absorb, and then we're basically begging a mistake to be made on those cutback passes.
No doubt.
We gave up a few too many direct kicks inside like 25 yards for my liking, but better inside 25 than inside the penalty area. So
exactly, yep.
Gladly do that. One weird thing I saw was, if I was going to pick one guy, if I had one guy in the wall to protect my post, would it be Acosta, the shortest guy on the team, arguably? I had to question that one, but I guess it worked out.
He's the guy you want laying on the ground.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. He's not
He
much
doesn't
taller
have
than
to
that
lay.
standing up.
He doesn't have to lay. Wow. Before we turn this page on the Philadelphia Union game, we are going to have Trey Fillmore with Blue Balls NYCFC on here in a couple minutes to discuss our upcoming playoff match. But guys, we had a goal from Yamil Assad. Surely that was off some chaos. You mentioned the own goal off Philly. Overall, offensively, there's been a lot of positivity. The stats, I guess, don't show it, but was this performance enough for you to say, let's stick with Luka and stick with Kubo and ride that horse?
No, I think the previous 33 games are the reason why to stick with Luka and Kubo. I think that for whatever reason, Luka is just he's the hot hand. You got to keep playing the hot hand. And then Kubo, the relationship with him and Cucho or with Lucho is just so important up top. I think that's somebody you have to find minutes for up top. And I think it can't be said enough that Baird, despite the struggles at playing forward, being willing to play left back is just like it's like what Kubo was doing, right? So those roles have been reversed, right? Like two players that are super willing to adapt and change and see this team out and see a better lineup because of it. And I applaud both of them.
I think FC Cincinnati's shown you don't have to go out and spend $900,000 on a fullback anymore. Sorry, DeAndre Yedlin. Oh, shoot.
I do think, though, Yedlin getting involved, you mentioned earlier, Brian, getting involved in the attack definitely frees up Luka to stay up top because we've got balls coming in from the side. We've got a guy streaking down the right side now. And Assad is, as you mentioned, Justin, a little aggressive there on the left side. With the three center backs that we have, if they stay healthy through the playoffs and they build that chemistry, I think we've got a lot to look forward to, Brian, offensively coming in. And how about Luka going for his third behind midfield goal?
That's so close.
Almost.
My one worry is how does this lineup hold when we need to pack it in a little bit more and we need somebody to relieve that pressure? If we playing it long, is Kubo the guy that's going to be able to do that? Is Luka going to be able to battle off some of these center backs? So I think there are some weaknesses to this lineup where you'd like to have a Kevin Kelsey, somebody up there like Nico, but we got a lot of talent, a lot of ball skills to be able to relieve that pressure either on the wing or through that middle.
Yeah, I'm good, though, with starting this lineup and making that as an in-game adjustment if we need to. If these guys can't break that back line with some big center backs that are winning balls in the air, we make that adjustment. We slot Luka back out on the side, and we bring Kevin Kelsey in or Giacchini, and they can take that long ball, and we keep Luka on the pitch somewhere. But I'm good with this attacking three going forward through the playoffs.
All right, Lo. Do you guys have any final thoughts for Philly before we start turning the page here?
No, I just I hope that we don't see Bedoya's last match at Philadelphia. I hope that he can find a way. He's been such a staple. What a story for the MLS, right? Guy that's been truly committed to that brand and continuing that brand. I'd like to see Bedoya come back, and I hope the help for Gazdag is okay, because that club. I know they're a bit of a rival, a bit of a thorn and stuff like that for us, but Philadelphia really does make this league better. I think that they could manage some of their contracts a little bit better, but other than that, I think they're one of the prime cut, and I hate to see two of the guys that have led that march kind of in the season on the injuries.
Yeah, I'll say two things. Philadelphia has made us better as well. Thank you for that. And I also think how fitting it is, depending on which side of the ball you're on, that Cincinnati was the team that eliminated maybe this era of the Philadelphia Union, that they've had such a good run. And a lot of the people that put that team in place are now with Cincinnati and brought this era of the Philadelphia Union potentially to an end. So that's my final thought on that match.
Very poetic. I do. I'm glad you caught on to that. That feels fitting.
All right, guys. Well, it is that time of the show where we turn to our guest. We do have a special guest from Blue Balls NYCFC this week. We have Trey Fillmore. Trey, how are you, sir?
Hey, what's up, guys? Can you hear me?
Perfect.
Awesome. Love it. That's the biggest fear, you know.
Yeah. So, Trey, give us a little bit of a background on your show and how you started getting into covering NYCFC.
Sure. I am one half of Blue Balls NYCFC podcast. We've been doing it since day one and been covering the team for 10 years. I've been lucky enough to be a reporter covering the team for 7 years. Also write for the Outfield as well, another great publication online. And yeah, it's been a fun ride. I'm happy to be back here. It's always full of surprises, but you know, our podcast dives between the absurd and the serious, and I think a lot of soccer podcasts do that. But I'm very happy to be here, and I'm excited for the playoffs.
So let's kind of give a recap quickly on NYCFC. You, of course, had a pretty strong second half of the MLS season. Ended up with a positive 5-goal differential. Won 3 of your last 5 matches, going 3-1-1. You have some great young players in Alonso Martinez, who's had 16 goals, Santi Rodriguez with 12 goals, 10 assists, and of course, the veteran Maxi Morales coming back from his ACL injury. So previous matches you guys have played FC Cincinnati this year. FC Cincinnati had the comeback of the year in the League's Cup win over NYCFC, which I picked as my moment of the year. Of course, FC Cincinnati won the first match of the season, 1-0 early on, and then NYCFC got the revenge back in early October. So give us kind of a quick vibes check on NYCFC. They had a huge winless streak over the summer. Things started to change with the League's Cup run. Of course, a quarterfinal loss to PKs to Columbus. But then you guys have really torn it up with huge performances this fall, especially from Martinez, Santiago Rodriguez, and Morales. So is this a group that's going to be able to win it all, give a good shot?
Is this group one that can win it all? I hope they're not listening because I don't think so. It's hard, right? You mentioned we have good young players like Alonso Martinez. This team is the youngest in MLS. Alonso Martinez is a veteran at age 24, 25 for this team. I think that shows a lot in a lot of the performances. The fact you have a winless streak, even if you're playing well. But as you said, that winless streak was tough. It was hard. It seemed like the playoffs were a guarantee, so it was really just a slog. And then luckily, you know, the last 3 matches in this little stretch, getting the wins there was a huge relief and a huge weight lifted off the shoulders of the team. Now, a bit of a stinker to close the season against a Montreal team that absolutely had to win at home. So wasn't super positive that the team would get a result in that match, but a little disappointing to enter the playoffs on such a high note and then put up a stinker in that last week. You know, the opposite of Cincinnati, who were able to get a win right at the end there. So I don't know how much that's going to play into it. I think this team is very young and very talented and just rides at a knife's edge. Any one of those 9 games in a row they didn't win, they could have won by inches. Any one of the 3 wins, I mean, you saw, you guys almost climbed back, and that's kind of how a lot of those games went. So it's a team that when they're good, they're great, and when they're bad, it's just demoralizing. And they have some growing pains to get through, but the talent is there for sure. And I think that's the bottom line through mostly those 3 players that you mentioned.
Yeah, Trey, you mentioned, you know, you gave up a stinker there at the end, and unlike Cincinnati, we won on an own goal, right? So we were lucky to squeak by there. And you talk about a winless streak. Yours was midseason. Ours was right here at the end. And so we know the feeling. We know how that is. That was unlike us the last 2 seasons here in Cincinnati. But ours came, I guess my question is, ours came at the end of the season, and we're questioning, okay, we got to win going into the postseason. You really want to be hot here at the end of the season and not necessarily midseason. You're coming off winning 3 of your last 5 matches. Do you feel like you've got a hot team going in? Or I know regardless of this last match here, do you have a hot team going into the playoffs that you're excited about, that think maybe you could do some damage early on in the early rounds, even if they don't go on? Or are you're just lucky to get by that first round?
Yeah, maybe I'm a little harsh thinking they can't win it all, but I think surprisingly NYCFC matches up really well against all the what I call the varsity teams of the East, of Miami and Columbus and Cincinnati. But so that's a little hope. And yeah, you mentioned the streak. I think it's mostly that this team, they're hungry and they are young and they do have the memory of a goldfish, sometimes for the worse, but also for the better. And most importantly, they're healthy. Only one player that's been out all season is still currently out, but the rest of the team is healthy. The team found a starting 11 in those last 5 matches that have been so successful. That's positive. I'm really happy that Nick Cushing has decided this is the lineup we're going to have. These are the tactics we're going to use, and we'll live and die by them. And that is promising. So I think we could ruffle some feathers if we need to.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I think NYCFC, I think the old adage, if anybody's a basketball fan around here, but like in March Madness, you get that, they're too young to feel the pressure. You know what I mean? I think that they're playing with house money. NYCFC, they're very confident. They've proven that they can go toe to toe with just about anybody in this league. So it's really exciting. I hate that we're matched up, because I was really excited to see you. Because it was just a few years ago. I mean, we were talking about NYCFC as one of the best teams in the league. They go and they play Philadelphia in the Eastern Conference Final in 2022. I mean, everything seemed to be in the direction, and then they go into what most people would perceive as like a rebuild kind of situation. But I don't know about you, Trey, but coming into the season, seeing some of those players that went on like loan. I think Magnus went on loan. You had players that were going out. Like, how did Nick Cushing kind of gel this team together? I know Maxi Morales is a great captain to have, but how did Nick Cushing kind of gel this thing together with all these young pieces?
I think he's done a really good job actually managing all the personalities and the youth in this locker room. As you mentioned, it was certainly a rebuild. I mean, the last season was the first time NYCFC missed the playoffs since 2015, and they decided to change that. They spent the most money in the last 2 windows of summer 23 and winter 24 of any team in the league, just building depth, young depth, but building depth, and just letting the coach take his time to pick and choose who he thinks will fit best. And I think, removing those limitations from him, all the talented players leaving, like Tati Castellanos, like Talos Magno, as you said, it kind of allowed him to open up more to see what he can achieve with this team. And I think he was surprised by the end, but it worked. And then second is culture. I think City Football Group, we are owned by City Football Group, unfortunately, but it does at least command a level of discipline and organization. And, it's very tight-lipped, very button-up, is the culture that I've been around covering this team from day one. And it can be a little dithering as a fan. It can be a little bit of a wall to try to get through, to get to know the team, to understand their personality as a team on and off the field. But at the end of the day, to have a team this young performing this well and not throwing tantrums, not yelling at each other, any of that, there's no drama. And that's positive. This team all believes they can win. They all want starting minutes, and that's what you want from a young team.
Well, so you still do have some leaders, of course, Maxi Morales, but one guy who I think hasn't been given enough praise this year is Thiago Martins, probably one of the most low-key quality defenders in Major League Soccer. I guess he was an all-star this year, but you don't necessarily hear him as like the defender of the year type. But what has he brought to this group defensively, and then of course how their playing style, playing through him out of the back?
Thank you so much for saying that. I've been shouting that from the rooftops, and I think he unfortunately gets that stigma of he's a DP, and so there's that stigma of DP center back. What do they really offer, etc. But he is such a necessary person to have on this back line because he always plays. He's almost never injured. He is so talented in terms of his range. He can run out to the touch lines to stop attackers, or he can stand strong in the middle of the box. And most significantly is his passing. He can really push up the ball and get the ball into the other side of the field. NYCFC loves field tilt, loves changing the field and trying to shift momentum as quickly as possible. And having a CB that can really shoot things up the middle is such a good crutch to lean on when things aren't going your way. So I'm super glad you brought that up. And I think he is a really, really, really big part of this team. He is our captain. He wears our armband, and I think that says a lot. He came into the league rough, like some foreign players do, when they're so used to a different speed. He was playing in Japan for so long, and now he's used to it, and it's great to see.
Yeah. So, Trey, as you look at Cincinnati and the matchup against NYCFC, we've seen you guys 3 times this season, right? Going into the playoffs, though, what matchup are you most excited to see on the pitch? Is it a Lucho Acosta? Is it Luca Orishano coming up? He's playing up top right now. Maybe he's playing on the wing against NYCFC. I don't know. That's a mystery. We just talked a little bit about that. Where's he going to go? But what's the matchup that you're most excited to see on the pitch in the playoffs?
Yeah, I think the most important matchup that we've seen in at least 2 out of the 3 games, including the 1-0 win you guys had at home, and then this last match, is it's very clear Lucho Acosta is one of the best players in the league. He's so important, and it's a thrill to watch what he can do in a moment's notice. And so limiting that as much as possible is so important. We have James Sands, who was our first homegrown player. He's been here for so long and is still kind of getting his legs under him. But he's certainly one of the most talented players on this team. Just a super steady, stout, a physical center midfielder. And he has been tasked, at least in the most recent game, certainly, in almost completely shadowing Lucho and trying to cut off his lanes and his opportunities. Of course, in that 1-0 win, Lucho just did Lucho things and pulled a miracle out. But I was really impressed by how he's played in every matchup we've had against you guys, because he's certainly someone that can just clog up things in the midfield and keep you guys from that dangerous transition that can punish teams.
Yeah, that's a good shout.
I mentioned him in passing a little bit, but to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, you guys started getting hot later in the summer into this early fall, and I think some of that had to coincide with the addition of Maxi Morales, your 10 in the midfield, to your maestro. He came off an ACL injury, came back in June, but didn't really get his fitness up. So what do you take? How's he been performing? Is he kind of like a Lucho style linchpin? I mean, how does he kind of fit into the NYCFC lineup?
That's a great question. And I think it really impacts how we approach teams, especially like Cincinnati. So Max Morales was the talisman of this team for so many years. He had a season where he had 22 assists. It was some godly numbers. And then he left. He wanted to retire in Argentina. And 6 months later, he changed his mind and came back to NYCFC. Then he tore his ACL. And coming into the year, Santi Rodriguez was given a DP contract. He was given the number 10 shirt. It was his job to assume that role. But they're very different players. Santi Rodriguez is a vertical, downhill, creative, 1-2 passing, incisive style central midfielder, attacking midfielder. And Maxi Morales is more of that maestro, is more of the dictate things, control the pace of the game, has that veteran. I mean, he's 37, 38 years old. He has that. Yeah, I know. He has that understanding of how the team should operate in every game state. And what's worked so well, because it has been there's been a little friction when Santi was by himself, not in that traditional role. But having both of them almost act as 2 different 10s has been the realization that's changed the end of the season. Having them both on the field. We spent millions of dollars on 2 young Argentine left wingers, and they're both cooling on the bench because we need Max Morales in this team. And I think it works really well against, and this is why I think it's a great matchup for NYCFC. It works really well against these teams that push their wingbacks forward really high and want to play 3 in the back. And are attacking teams. I mean, they just fall into the trap of Maxi Morales and Santi being dynamic horizontally, they can dictate the pace of the game and dictate how many chances are happening by creating overloads on each side of the field and in the middle, just using intelligence and making sure they, have an understanding of how the other team's wingbacks are going to operate. And I think that's where we were super successful against Cincinnati in that last match we played, was this idea of pressing, having really structured pressing triggers against the center backs, and then following up with these overloads on the wings is the key. I mean, that is the key.
It is, because what it does is, and you may have watched FC Cincinnati quite a bit, but what it does is it pulls guys like Obino Nwobano out to the wings instead of being centrally, and then you have a guy like Maxi Morales that's just dictating things at the top of the box. That's just danger. That's panic mode for a lot of fans. But I one thing I was gonna ask, it's a bit of a silly one to kind of go a little bit lighthearted on here. How I don't get many times to talk to NYCFC fans, but I can't have a guess NYCFC without mentioning it once. What field do we think we're going to be playing on?
So off the field now, we're talking, Trey. Off the field, on field.
Well, I mean, you got to be sick and tired of hearing it, Trey. I'm sure you hear it in every single guest appearance that you have. But like, is there a certain field that NYCFC have more success in? Do they like the narrow pitch at Yankee Stadium? Are they more comfortable when they're playing Citi Field or Red Bull Arena? Like, what is the preferred spot for them? So maybe FC Cincinnati fans can kind of do a little bit of MLB playoff watching.
Very interesting, and we'll get to that. They shocked me by winning 3 in a row at Red Bull Arena just this past week, because the Mets and the Yankees both went deep in the playoffs. So I was surprised, because our fans generally don't want to go to those games, but the players love it because most of them live in New Jersey, in these nice suburban New Jersey houses, and it's a very quick commute for them. I would say Yankee Stadium obviously was our main home base, Citi Field being introduced a little bit later. I think they play better, and I like them a lot more at Citi Field because the sound it's just less, it's more less cavernous, I'd say. It's at least a little, it holds in the sound a little bit more. Yeah. Not close to a soccer stadium, but at least a little bit more similar to a soccer stadium. It can get pretty loud in there. So I think that's probably the best. Now, the interesting thing we're all waiting for news on, got some updates today, is that, so the Mets dropped out. They lost to the Dodgers, and they're done. So presumed that we would play that away game at Citi Field. However, there is a golf event that they do like every weekend at Citi Field in the fall, like where you can drive the ball off the roof onto the whatever. So we're currently in negotiations with Citi Field about how to buy that. This is the story of NYCFC, man. It has always been, let's buy out the golf event and hopefully we can get a real stadium, or else we'll play in Jersey. It is getting on my nerves, but at least in 2027 we'll have a nice, big, beautiful home that you guys are welcome to, and I'm very excited to finally be over it then.
We look forward to that. The place looks incredible, but I think going off of that a little bit, I think Trey, you could agree with this. I think FC Cincinnati fans, if they play in Red Bull Arena, can expect to see more NYCFC fans than Red Bull fans in there. I'm just saying, I call it how I see it, man.
Yeah, for somehow, even with our fans boycotting that stadium, we still tend to show up a little bit stronger than they do, which is always a pleasure.
So, Trey, let me be a little more micro on this. You seem to, I'm getting the sense that you're thinking that NYCFC has a really good chance to take 2 out of 3 from FC Cincinnati. What's your thought on that?
I wouldn't say really good chance. I would say a much better chance than you would presume a 3-6 matchup to go. I just think that it really, these games are going to be decided in the first 20 minutes. In the last 3 games we won, we scored in the 5th and 7th minute in one game. We scored in the 16th against you guys, I think, and then we scored within 19 seconds and then 18th minute in the 3rd game. So those are the 3 wins that happened recently. This team they will get off quickly, and kind of speaks to the character of the team as well. And I think as long as Cincinnati just needs to chill, they just need to chill out just a little bit, absorb a little bit of pressure, and I think they'll be okay. It'll be interesting to listen back to this and hear what you guys have to think about your team's ability versus NYCFC and how you view the matchups from your end. But I think the team definitely has a chance. I'm not going to say it's better than 50-50. I just think if they can put them in a good performance in this first game, even if they lose, they can certainly go into Cincinnati that 3rd match and feel a lot more confident if they win the 2nd, for sure.
And that's awesome. If we can just not allow a goal in the first 10 minutes. And last week I said the team I didn't want to see in the first round was NYCFC because of that. I mean, you guys, you take off fast, we start slow. I mean, I've got to think a lot of the game is determined in the first 20 minutes. You got that first quarter. I think that's where the excitement of the match is going to be, and see if we can fend you guys off in the first half of the first half. We seem to settle down and play real well after that. So I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be, like you said, I don't think it's a 3-6. I think it's more like a 4-5. But I'm really looking forward to the matchup. I hate that the game's on Monday night, which seems completely odd to me. But, hey, good luck to you and good luck to us. And we'll see who comes out on top after 3.
Certainly 2 very entertaining teams to watch. Thankfully, we don't have to watch Charlotte. I would have pulled the rest of my hair out if we were matched up with them in this first round. Trey, real quick, man, thank you for coming on the show. Can you give everybody your social media and where to find you?
Yeah, we're really bad at social media. We should know by 10 years, but we don't. We are anywhere you get podcasts. That's Blue Balls NYCFC podcast. You can find our account on Twitter at Blue Balls Pod, and you can find myself at Trey Fillmore. I am going to post I just did the voting for MLS awards and best 11. And I'm not going to lie, I put up a playoff performance today because I do have a high fever right now and I'm powering through. It's the playoffs. No, I had to, come on. This is Cincy Talk. I had to be here for you guys. And in my haze, in my fever, I actually named 3 Cincinnati players to my best 11.
All right.
It just worked out that way.
Good job.
Miles, Luca, and Lucho.
That's it. Those are the 3.
Good. I like it. All right, Trey. Well, thank you so much, man. You rest up, get better, and maybe we'll talk to you here in another week or so.
I hope so. Hey, good luck to you guys. Really, fun team to watch, and thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. You guys take care. Thank you.
Thanks, Trey. Have a good one.
Thanks, Trey.
Bye.
That was Trey Fillmore with Blue Balls NYCFC. Guys, make sure to go check out their podcast before the playoffs here. You have a whole week to check out their stuff before we get into that. And as Bill mentioned, next Monday. Real quick, everybody, I would like to give another shout out to one of our other great sponsors, Beyond Exercise. Beyond Exercise is a local physical therapy and fitness business that helps people stay active and injury-free. In fact, they help some of our local MLS Next, and FCC Academy players with their health and performance needs. Check out their suite of services at gobeyondexercise.com. And of course, I won't read the whole list as we're running out of time this week, but thank you so much to all of our Patreons for helping us provide additional coverage, the photographers sending people these games. Hopefully we'll have some great playoff coverage here. But if you'd like to support the show, please go to CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/support or go to our Patreon, search Cincinnati Soccer Talk. All right, guys, real quick as we're running up to that 10 o'clock hour, the playoff bracket, real quick. Number 1, Inter Miami versus either number 8, CF Montreal, or number 9, Atlanta United. I'm shocked that they snuck in somehow. Number 2, Columbus Crew versus number 7, New York Red Bulls. It makes me so happy that New York can just be a thorn in that Columbus Crew side. So no sadness there. FC Cincinnati, of course, taking on New York City FC, and then Orlando City SC is the 4th seed versus number 5, Charlotte. And that to me is, I mean, I think those are two tough teams that Miami's going to have to face in that next round, should, of course, they advance versus Montreal or Atlanta. So, again, frustrating teams, those two. Real quick, as kind of Bill mentioned, our potential schedule for the playoffs is the first game for NYCFC is next Monday, October 28th at 6:45 p.m. A quick shout out for that game. Due to most, if not all, bars closed on Mondays down there and over the Rhine area, West End, our SGs are working on an event at Washington Park. I think they're working with the Porch at Washington Park, which is that outdoor pavilion there in the middle of the park. They're offering drink discounts, so they're going to be open before the game. And I think there's going to be some programming by the supporters groups down there. So go check that out at Washington Park. Second game, Saturday, November 2nd. Either at Met Stadium, Red Bull Arena, or maybe Yankee Stadium. You never know. The World Series will be in LA that weekend. So I guess we'll see what happens there. And if necessary, back here at TQL Stadium on Saturday, November 9th. Bill, I know you and I have kind of spoken about it off air a little bit, but all of the matches in the second and third rounds of that first round are Friday, Saturday, Sunday. What the heck is MLS doing scheduling these Monday and Tuesday games during school year? I mean, what's your opinion on that? Is that growing the playoffs? Is that trying to get people excited about a game every day kind of deal? What's your opinion on that?
Well, now you know me, so I'm not very strong language, but I think it's absolute crap. I'd like to use another word, but I'll keep it clean. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. There's going to be no TV viewership. I can't come up with a logical reason of why they would put it on Monday night at 6:45. It's beyond. I was planning on going over the weekend, and they throw this at me, so I got to completely redo schedules at work. I got to completely redo schedules at home. It throws everything into utter chaos. I mean, I'm just hoping that there's a great crowd that shows up. I'm hoping it's the 25-5-13, hoping another sellout, and we get behind them. But I mean, it's going to be tight for a lot of people to get there by kickoff. I mean, just being realistic. I come from way north of the city to get down there. Traffic's not exactly friendly, at like 5:30 any weekday. So it'll be a challenge and a thrill, I hope, and at least we come away victorious. But no, stupid call by the MLS. Much criticism from me on them doing this. Not happy at all.
Yeah. Who's the Western Conference? Are they playing a Western Conference game that night?
I think there's games every night like that they're doing like two games.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I clicked on the day before then.
I'm gonna triple
Seattle,
down.
Seattle and Houston, 9:00. But it is on Fox Sports 1. So I will say that Cincinnati versus NYC is on Fox Sports 1.
Is that in Lumen Field
in Seattle? You're talking about, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so there you go. There's your answer. Your answer is right there. Just I'm gonna triple down on the comparisons to basketball tonight. I don't know why, but you get the same thing in March Madness, right? You get those weird times, those weird schedules for when a market is going to pull through on those times. They're gonna put them in there. FC Cincinnati is one of the best home field advantages, one of the best fan bases in the MLS, and so is Seattle. So those were two easy scapegoats to put in those times to basically extend out the playoffs. So it's got that feel for an every kind of like what you were saying, Brian.
The playoff buzz.
They're the easy teams to pick on, right? Like if you're doing it in Atlanta, that's probably not going to happen.
The last time I checked, there weren't 64 teams in the MLS playoffs, though. Right, so I don't know where the comparison to March Madness goes for those afternoon games.
Hey, there are 64 teams in the Open Cup. Let's go, baby.
This ain't Open Cup, man. This is playoffs. Not happy.
Well, I just, kind of using this as a comparison a little bit. The WNBA was kind of getting panned a little bit about their scheduling of their playoff games, that first round with the Fever. I think they all opened on Saturday and Sunday, and people were upset because they're like, oh, no, nobody's going to watch your games. Put them on Tuesdays. Well, I look at it and say, these are leagues that, fund everything pretty much through tickets. Yes, I know Apple TV deals kind of change things, but so much that gets funded through ticket sales, and the fact that you're pretty much just slapping your diehards by putting these games on Mondays and Tuesdays, kind of just, it doesn't sit well, especially because everything from here on out's Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
So you guys you're in town. You're at most of the games. We've seen this season we play a midweek game and fans don't show out like they normally would. Will that stay the same for the playoffs? Do you think it won't be a sold out crowd? Are we afraid of that? Or is it just, we've got to rearrange everything because we can't get to the stadium in time? Viewership's going to be down. Do you think people will fill the stadium? I guess that's my question.
Whoever was selling a ticket for $500, that seat's not going to get filled. I promise you that.
There's a lot of seats available on SeatGeek right now.
There are.
And there's a lot of premium seats available on SeatGeek right now.
I don't think this is aiming for a sellout, unfortunately.
Yeah,
I think Monday is going to kill that, but I do expect it to be in that 85 to 90% capacity. Now selling tickets, who knows what those numbers are going to be like, but butts in the seats, I expect it to be 85, 90.
I may be sick that afternoon. And, get a ticket to come in.
Supposed to be traveling for work. I've already scheduled Brian to host next Monday, so I'm supposed to be traveling for work. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, that's right. I can't come in. I'm hosting next week.
There you go. Well, speaking of not wanting to go to any U.S. Open Cup games next year, FC Cincinnati qualified for the CONCACAF Champions League. Team 8 or 9, depending on how you look at it. RSL and FC Cincinnati qualified through their place on the table, breaking Justin Blair and the city of Lexington's hearts for potentially having to play us. And maybe we'll have our MLS Next Pro team go down there and take care of business. We'll see.
Open it up, Don. Let it happen, man.
Let it go.
Let the academies play in this thing. Come on, something.
Yeah, let LSO United represent FC Cincinnati. Where MLS go, so we can put the cool FC Cincinnati jerseys on and all that cool stuff.
I think we should put the Sirens out there. They have a pretty good track record in tournaments.
King's Hammer, let's do it. No, I'm very excited. Well, I'm sure we'll dive into that a little bit later. But very excited to be a part of that tournament. Before we wrap up the show as well, I want to touch a little bit more. NWSL is, hopefully going to be in our future. We've seen a lot of posts with, the Redders posting about ticket or t-shirt distribution. We've seen several people talk about marketing, maybe a promotional video. And then we have reports this week. I've actually have been told through a club source that the 20th and 21st was the visit schedule, which is today, for NWSL. And there's people that saw Jeff Birding escorting a random, commissioner around Blink Sunday night. So as I mentioned earlier on the show, Cleveland a bit premature on their quote unquote, Reddit announcement that they got the bid. I still think FCC feels very confident that if they don't get it this round, they'll get it next round. But part of the deal is these guys have to go into the league when Boss Nation FC comes in 2026. So we're 18 months or so away. And I think if you look at Cincinnati, who's getting a visit, Cleveland, Denver, Nashville, Philadelphia, I'm not sure you can feel very comfortable with either of those other 4 cities that they can be up and running as fast as Cincinnati can be.
18 months is fast. So tell that to the FC Cincinnati.
Well, you're talking about Cleveland. Have they built a stadium yet? They're talking about building a stadium on the Metro Parks, which is, wonderful. That's great. That's great. But I just, runway short. FC Cincinnati has shown that they can at least put a team on the field, not necessarily win, but
like 2 months.
Much better marketing, by the way, than Boss Nation.
If I'm an NWSL owner, I can take the check the expansion fee check from FC Cincinnati, Meg Women and Carl Linner. And then whoever owns Roosevelt's rights can just add a 0 on the end of it, whatever that fee is. And that's what FC Cincinnati will literally pay. So win all around here.
And we're growing a heck of a pool outside of academies right now. So I can't wait to see it.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, it is past 10 o'clock here if you're listening live on YouTube, Facebook. Let's get into our final thoughts. I'll go Brian, Justin, and Bill. Brian.
Yeah, my final thought is just I'm hosting next week, post-match live, and hoping for a win. Hoping we've got a lot of fun things to talk about, not a lot of sad things to cry about next Monday night. So tune in. I think we're going to go. We'll send details out later. I think we're going to go probably at 10 o'clock, so a little bit later because of the match. Give people time to get home, and our hosts to get behind their mics, and people time to get home and watch. So stay tuned for details on that, and looking forward to chatting next week.
Justin.
Yeah, I'm going to give two shout outs to two of our listeners. First, I'm going to go with Randy Spalding. Recently, his mother became ill, and I just want to let Randy know that we're all thinking about him and praying for him and his family at this moment. And also, congratulations to Jose. Jose just got done celebrating another wedding anniversary. So appreciate Jose always being here in a chat among other people. But congratulations, man.
Awesome. Thanks, Justin. Bill.
Well, I will guarantee one thing. I will guarantee there will be a game 2. So that I will guarantee you guys. All right.
Thanks, Bill.
There will be a game 2. I've got to think. I'm going to, once again, being the micro guy, I'm going to bring it down to, we need to score more to beat a team like NYCFC. It's not going to be none of the games will be a clean sheet for either team. I mean, I'm looking for it to be a fairly decent scoring game. FC 3-2 is going to be my prediction, and it's going to be one of those things. Celentano's got to stand up. All right, he's a professional. He's a seasoned veteran at this point. He's got to stand up. He's got to be able to control the defense and make the big saves, and I think that'll be our path to victory.
All right. Thanks, Bill. Thanks for coming on. My final thoughts, even though the season ends on a rough note, congratulations to FCC2. They did unfortunately lose their first round match to Charlotte this past weekend. A heartbreaker late in the match, 2-1. But not to take away from their great performances this whole year. My second is I really, 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 really hope we don't play in Red Bull Arena, because we've seen that place is amateur hour, where they allow players in the locker rooms with pizzas, and just I want a much more professional environment. So let's go to Mets Stadium or wherever the heck they want to go, and stay away from that toilet bowl facility in.
Hey, we're 2-0 in Red Bull Arena in the playoffs, man. I'd love to go back. Let Auxilla 1 go down there and just pack that place out. Let's do it again.
Oh, well, you're a lot more brave than I am. All right, guys, for Justin, Brian, and Bill, this is Brian Weigel. Sign off saying thank you all so much for episode 392. Y'all have a great week, and go FCC in the playoffs.